Hi there. It's September the 18th, and today we continue our progress through the prophecy of Isaiah, whose name is Yeshayahu in Hebrew, which means the Lord will save. And today we're looking at the rest of chapter 28, going through chapter 29 and 30. These are quite tricky chapters to understand, but if we put them in the context of what's going on at the time for Zion, for Jerusalem, and for Judah, we can maybe make a little more sense of them. So we've already seen that God, in the beginning of chapter 28, God is going to have to retrain. He's going to have to teach Israel in very simple ways. And then we come on to the fact that Israel seems to have made, or they seem to have made an alliance with Egypt, and therefore they've made what Isaiah calls a covenant with death. He sees this as being a covenant which is going to lead to disaster for them. However, the Lord is still intent on restoring Zion, and it says he will lay in Zion a foundation stone, a cornerstone. The foundation, the basic principle of what God does, is through his people, is through the promises of Abraham, is through the call that is on their nation, and also his presence being with them, particularly through the temple in Jerusalem. And so this is rather like the way in which a farmer would work, and the way in which nature itself works, that there are ways in nature that unfold. Just like the farmer sows seed in the right time, just like crops are harvested in a certain way. So God's saying this is his way of doing things. This is his purposes. This is his purpose being established through Israel. He will lay in Zion a cornerstone, a foundation stone, and it's only on that people can build. Then in chapter 29, there's a woe spoken. There's a warning spoken to Zion, and it's called here Ariel. Ariel in Hebrew literally means lion of God. And of course, a lion was a picture that was used to do with David and the tribe of Judah. And there's a warning here that actually Jerusalem will fall. Eventually, Jerusalem will be overwhelmed. It will be like a nightmare. It will be like like being drunk but being awake. There's not a good prognosis for Jerusalem on this basis. However, it says that there will be a restoration. God promises a restoration, and in that restoration, meekness will be a key. We see at the end of the chapter here that meekness is going to be something which will be a key to see God's work restored, and Israel will come back to a place of coming into God's purposes for her. And then lastly, in chapter 30, the beginning of chapter 30, we're just reading the first 11 verses, we see again this theme of there's no point turning to Egypt. It can hardly be believed that the people of God are going back to Egypt, the place that they were delivered from. But Egypt, this great power set against Assyria in the north who's coming down, they seem to have gone there for refuge, they seem to have gone there for help. But God is saying there will be no help in the people of Egypt. What comes through clearly in these quite difficult chapters to grasp is that it's coming to God, it's taking refuge in God, it's coming meekly before him, it's trusting in his ability to see us through tough situations that is going to see us in his will and in his purposes. It's no good making arrangements, making agreements with the world around us to save us, to rescue us. Only in God is our rescue, because he has set in his purposes and in his promises the foundation stone. And we know, of course, from the New Testament that Jesus is the one who is this foundation stone. He is the one who is the cornerstone upon which everything else that we build in our lives is built. And therefore he calls us to build on him afresh today. Have a very good September the 18th.